Imagine you're sailing in the South Pacific, hundreds of miles from the nearest shore. Your navigation charts insist you're approaching land, an island, long enough to stretch across the horizon. But as the line of the world rises out of the water, there's nothing. No coastline, no beaches, just a thin silver of moonlight on an endless empty sea. And yet, for over a century, this phantom island appeared on respectable charts, globes, school atlases. Even Google Earth marked it as real, until the day modern scientists tried to find it and discovered that it simply doesn't exist. This is the unsettling mystery of Sandy Island, the landmass that vanished from all maps overnight. For more than 120 years, Sandy Island occupied a thin slot in the Coral Sea between Australia and New Caledonia, a lonely shape, roughly 15 miles long and a few miles wide. On paper, it was big enough to matter, a navigational hazard, a reef builder, a place you'd chart carefully around. Its first widely accepted appearance is traced to 1876, when a British survey vessel, the Velocity, recorded a low, elongated land or bank. The crew didn't land. No measurements, no survey triangulation, just a line in a logbook, a dot on a chart, and history had a new island. From there, the ghost became solid. Mapmakers copied older charts. Atlases inherited each other's details. The British Admiralty included it. Commercial publishers included it. Later, global datasets absorbed it. Even the World Data Bank, used by countless mapping tools, carried Sandy Island forward like a rumor repeated so often it becomes truth. Captains wrote careful notes. Avoid shoals near Sandy. Some swore they'd skirted its reef. Warnings were printed. But here's the catch. No verified landings, no lighthouse, no photograph, no soil sample in a museum drawer. An island that existed in ink, coordinates, and confidence, but not in anyone's hands or eyes on the ground. For decades, no one questioned it loudly enough. Because who argues with a map? Fast forward to 2012. The Australian research vessel RV Southern Surveyor charts a course through the Coral Sea to study the seafloor, tectonic fractures, submarine volcanoes, the hidden terrain beneath the waves. Their route runs directly across Sandy Island's coordinates, a perfect opportunity to confirm what everyone already knows. As the ship approaches the plotted position, the crew prepares for shallow water. On the bridge, the echo sounder pings and returns nothing but deep, a mile of water beneath the keel. No rise, no reef shelf, not even the hint of a seamount. They reduce speed. The horizon remains clean and hard. No land haze, no line of breakers, no change in watercolor that would betray a lagoon or shoal. The instruments, indifferent and precise, keep repeating the same truth. Open ocean. A radio note goes out. No feature at the reported position. The coordinates are checked again, and compared across charts. They match. The ship is exactly where Sandy Island should be. Back on shore, the team files its report. News outlets latch on. Headlines call it the island that never was. Within days, digital map services remove the feature. Editions still in print are suddenly wrong. The phantom evaporates in public the way it should have decades ago, as if a smudge was finally wiped from the world. But deletion isn't the same as explanation. If it was never real, how did it survive for 136 years? If it was real once, why is the seafloor so deep, with no scar where an island might have stood? The disappearance didn't end the story. It sharpened it. The most accepted explanation sounds almost too simple: cartographic inheritance. Someone copied a feature from an earlier chart, who copied it from an earlier chart, and on it went. In the 19th century, maps were often composites, and error flowed through them like dye in water. Once a line is inked, it tends to stay until someone has the incentive, and the budget, to prove it wrong. But there's a twist here that map historians recognize: deliberate fakes. In the age of paper, cartographers sometimes planted trap streets, tiny invented details, odd bends, phantom structures, to catch plagiarists. At sea, that could mean a reef, a rock, or an island. If a competitor reproduced your fake, you had proof they copied your work. So, could Sandy Island have been a deliberate trap? A phantom that slipped its leash, migrating from a single publisher's map into the supposedly authoritative charts of governments? Maybe. But then why do multiple logs mention breakers and shadows and reef-like shapes near those coordinates? Why did some mid-century charts quietly downgrade Sandy Island from island to reported instead of erasing it entirely? Why did it drift through official data so long that even modern compilations carried it forward? The reveal is uncomfortable. Maps are not neutral. They are opinions with coordinates, and those opinions can persist long after the facts have sunk. Eyewitness claims muddy the water, and in ocean mysteries they always do. A 1908 French naval log described dark breakers where the island should be, the kind of whitewater you'd expect along a reef rim. Decades later, obscure satellite frames showed a smudged black patch, not land, but something on the surface casting shadow. Oceanographers point to a culprit we've seen in recent years: pumice rafts. When undersea volcanoes erupt, sometimes hundreds of kilometers away, they send out carpets of pumice that float for months, even acres wide. In 2012, such a raft in the Pacific drifted across shipping lanes, fooling eyes and instruments alike. From a distance, a low horizon of gray rock can look like shore. Another possibility is more dramatic. The island was real, a coral cay born on a reef crest, and then a violent storm, a subsidence event, or a slow drowning by sea level rise erased it. The Pacific is dotted with seamounts that were once islands in glacial eras. Some atolls live and die on a time scale shorter than a human lifetime. If Sandy existed briefly, a cyclone could have ripped it into the sea, but the bathymetry fights back. The echo sounder on the Southern Surveyor reported deep water right where Sandy should be. Not 20 meters, not 50, more than 1,000. Cays don't usually sit on abyssal plains, they perch on reef platforms. If there's no platform, what was ever there to begin with? Then there's the whispers, fishers out of New Caledonia who say the area kills radios, that compasses give lazy swirls, that engines misbehave. Sailors are poets when it comes to fear, but myths cling to places like burrs. Some regions collect stories no matter how many times you sweep them clean. And quietly, another explanation appears in the margins: data confusion. A place called Sandy exists elsewhere. Coordinates shift between datums, a few miles here, a few miles there. A clerk merges records that should have stayed apart. The ocean doesn't change, but the names and numbers do, until a phantom is born from paperwork, not waves. So what is Sandy Island's truth? A cartographer's trap that broke free? A mirage multiplied by copying? A pumice fleet mistaken for land? A fragile coral cay that lived and died between storms? Or just a chain of human assumptions, each one reasonable, together catastrophic? Today, global mapping tools show open water at those coordinates. Many modern atlases no longer print Sandy at all. But in archives, in out-of-date databases, and on the shelves of school libraries where old books never quite die, Sandy Island still lingers, a ghost printed in permanent ink. And that's the uncomfortable part. We think of maps as truth, but they're really stories told with coastlines. And here's where the mystery deepens. Sandy Island isn't alone. Across centuries, phantom islands have surfaced on charts and then dissolved into rumor. High Brazil, west of Ireland, a place sailors swore they saw through fog. Crocker Land, an Arctic mirage that launched expeditions into lethal cold. Bermeja, a Mexican island printed on maps for centuries and then lost, sparking modern political headaches over maritime claims. Each one had witnesses, coordinates, and confidence. Each one dissolved when the ocean demanded evidence. So what did the Southern Surveyor really erase? A rock, a rumor, or a trap? Maybe a little of all three. But the Coral Sea holds another dot we're not supposed to talk about. a feature that keeps returning to charts like a bad memory. Printed, removed, printed again. No photos, no landings. Just a name, a shape, and a consequence for anyone who believes it. Next time, we'll follow that dot. We'll read the logs no one quotes, and we'll show you the line on a map that justified patrols, redraws borders, and then vanished, leaving a bureaucracy scrambling to explain why. Until then, remember, not everything on a map is real. Some places exist only in the shadows between fact and fiction, and those are the places we're going. Subscribe to Lost Map Files, bring a compass, and maybe a little disbelief.